where to begin. Maybe, Sepideh, you could tell us, in the beginning of the film, you talk a little bit about how your own experiences of war and repression kind of propelled you to, maybe this was not the documentary you had in mind when you started, but to make a film about Palestinians. Could you speak to those experiences and how they've shaped you? I mean, your last film, La Sirène, was about your own experiences of war. So maybe to give the audience a little context.
Yes, this film perhaps is a combination of what triggered me to go and look for an answer to a question which had become obsessional to me, and that was the absence of the Palestinian voice in the media, which was flagrant for me in the first months after this October 7th. And I heard all sorts of other points of view about them, but they were never there, they were never questioned. And this was really what triggered my journey to Cairo to start with the filming. On the other hand, my experience as an Iranian exilee also contributes to this, because I know what it is to be from a region of this world, a country where other people talk about you and your points of view. And so this is something that I distillated gradually in the film as I was conversing with Fatma, and I talked about my own experience because I thought it was kind of mirroring hers, with no comparison, of course, because it's totally different. But still, as a woman filmmaker, a person who was blocked at some point in her own country, as she was there, but in my case it was a long time ago, but still I know that feeling of being blocked and jailed and then deprived of my rights. And so I think the film is a combination of these two components, and this result is, of course, really due to what happened between us. This bonding that really happened immediately, that you saw as I started. This was our first encounter that you saw at the beginning of the film.
At what point after connecting with Fatma did you realize that this was going to be the film? And what was it kind of about her that made you think, my friendship with this person is going to be the film?
At what point? I think it was, you saw it. It's like immediate. I can't really explain it logically. It was like an immediate bonding that happened, something which was mutual. I think she recognized something in me and she opened up, and I felt something very special in her. So even though the decision was not articulate in my mind on that very day, on April 4th, a few days later, on our second conversation, it was clear that she would be the main character of the film. She would be at the center. And she was also very explicit about the fact that I missed her, and she missed me, and there was this moment of being together, which was always so joyful, no matter what was happening on her side, which was always tragic. But I think it brought her some fresh air from the outside world, which was my little contribution to her, hardship.
So you made this choice to kind of film the phone on which we see her face. It's not like screen recording or anything, or someone shooting there, sending you the footage. There's films about or by Palestinians often have these distancing mechanisms because it's so hard to go there and make films. So this is like a common thread I've noticed. So many films are a screen within a screen that are telling the experience of Palestinians. But yeah, you make this choice to actually film this screen. And then also, when you have news footage, you are still kind of recording a laptop screen, and it has this very, rough quality to it. And the only time you have high resolution images are Fatma's photos. So can you talk about those choices, visual choices?
Yes, my point was to keep a real dynamism in the framing, hence the use of a mobile phone to film another mobile phone. This was one part of it, and it happened intuitively initially, but I did reflect on a lot about it as time was going by, and I could have changed, directions, but I thought that it was the right choice. It was also because I wanted to be at the same level with the fragileness of the images that we had, the disconnections, the pixelized images, the low key. And I thought that this way of filming was more adequate to match that quality of image. There was no point going against it and trying to refurbish a low quality image. I just give as I think it's important that you know that for those who might not know, that the debit by default in the Palestinian territories is 2G. And it is because of an Israeli blockade of them accessing 3G. This has been there for years. So by default, you have lower debits than anywhere else in the world, and plus the disconnections, which are also controlled by the Israeli tech. And I know what it is as an Iranian, because our regime does the same thing. When they want to make a blackout, they do it, So this thing of the arbitrary connection, disconnection is very familiar to me. And I thought this was something to be used in the film. You can't make it vanish. There's no point erasing it and making as though it didn't exist. It's part of the whole film and the whole exchanges that we had. So I might as well use it as it is, also to convey the feeling of frustration that I had waiting for her to respond, and going through the anguish when it was cut, whether she would respond again, when I would be able to talk to her. So I also consciously or deliberately included part of those disconnections and on and offs to convey to the viewer, to you, because I think it's part of what I lived with this whole year when I was in touch with her, of waking up, waiting for her to contact me, and it was never certain. Nothing was ever certain. So. And at the end, we are living through this genocide, which is almost, literally live streamed with a little delay through our mobile phones. We watch it on our phones. We flip, and we like and we discard or we refuse to watch on our phones. So this had to be the main, device.
I was very touched by the moments where you explore Fatim's and your differences in terms of the relationship to religion, particularly. There's some other, she's so beautifully idealistic. It's really kind of hard to watch that idealism unfold the way it does. But yeah, the conversation about God, about the hijab, I just found those, touching and also important, because people draw very hard binaries when it comes to these subjects to kind of divide, and so the kind of your experience of fighting a religious regime and a Palestinian woman's experience may be different, of like holding on to something that feels true to their culture. Can you talk about that, like the decisions to explore that as delicately as you did?
I'm sitting on a volcano, I would say, in terms of experiences. I was born in Iran in a believing religious Muslim family. My parents were believers. My mom still is, but open. I was given the choice to be what I want, and I grew out of it very quickly at a very young age. But I do remember the moments, after the revolution, where we were forced to wear the hijab, and I realized also very quickly at the beginning of our exchanges that Fatima didn't know about this. It was something new, so I thought it was interesting to share it with her. I was very careful not to be felt as judgmental, but I thought as a young woman who had never left Gaza, and who was not, who was very knowledgeable, very well read, but still was living in this little box, as she described herself. It was interesting to get my point of view shared with her, at least to see why I decided to leave Iran, that I could not go back. When I tell her I can't go back to Iran, I was like, why? And I was like, oh, she doesn't know. It was interesting for me, and I sincerely thought it was interesting, and I wanted to have her point of view also. And my remembrance of the political shift, I mean, this is a global thing, but it's more palpable in some countries, that veil and hijab as a choice, as a part of a political identity, was redefined in the past decades. And I respect that. It's not a judgment. I'm just observing. But I know that also from my Iranian point of view, where we did that, we chose to wear it against the Shah in a way of uniting, but it was a big mistake. It was totally misleading, and we paid, and we are still paying the price. Iranians, especially inside Iran, but we all have had issues with that, or many of us have. So this is something that I'm very sensitive to. And in Europe, and especially France, it is a big issue again that is manipulated by the extreme right in different ways. And so I'm struggling a different, when I talk in the French realm of politics, I explain things differently. With Fatima, I had a different discourse. Not different. My point of view is the same. I mean that I use my words differently.
You're responding to different points of view,
paradigms,
though.
yes. Yeah. So it is, and I think these are things that we really have to be monitoring very closely. And I'm now speaking to a New York audience, and I'm really terrified by what's going on here, and I'm sure you are as well, but politically, I mean, coming from a place like Iran, I feel it even more strongly that the danger is really there, very close, and we have to keep resisting and fighting and being articulate about our points of view of what is not acceptable, what is not negotiable. And I think there are lots of slippery grounds these days all around the world, and here as well, of course. So we know that Iran is a dictatorship. It's clear for us. I'm outside. I don't go back to my country. I have some things are more clearly declared, but in other countries where the supposed democracies are shifting, we are not as articulate as we should be, I think. So, sorry, this is a bit aside from the...
It's very relevant. It's very relevant. Can you talk about, the experience of the film being accepted to Cannes and... sharing that with Fatim and then receiving that news. Of course, it's captured towards the end of the film, but how did that kind of unfold from your end? Did you have hesitations about then sharing the film, or did it just increase your resolve?
Sharing the film with whom?
With the public, with people, with the world, yeah.
The film was made out of a need to share the Palestinian experience with the world. So there was never a question of holding it for me. She also agreed. I mean, this was her urge also to share.
And she had seen the cut?
No, I'll tell you. Okay. I'll come to that. So her determination, first of all, to share her experience and her images with me and to be shared with the rest of the world was there from the beginning. The very first thing we talked about was that beyond the film, I would try to do an exhibition or exhibitions of her photographies and publish a book, which is now being done. Unfortunately, she's not here to see it, but this is really what she wanted. So there was never a question of withholding for protection, because there's no sense. In fact, she herself was sharing her photos with other medias. She was giving interviews. There were 2 major interviews that she did in Arabic language with Al Jazeera and AJ Plus that I discovered after her assassination. They were done in the last weeks of her life, but I didn't know of them. She didn't share them with me, so I discovered it afterwards. And where she was really sitting in front of the journalist with a camera and explaining how determined she was to document the genocide and the destruction in Palestine. And so she really was, maybe she was not imagining that she would be targeted, but she knew the risks. Now, when the film was selected, I used to tell her, keep her posted about the post-production, stages and all, not about the festival applications, because I didn't want her to be. It is very hard to submit and then to get, rejected eventually, etc. We as filmmakers are used to that, but she inside Gaza, I didn't want to expose her to that. So that's why I waited until April 15th. Monday morning, for the selection to be public. And then immediately I sent her a message. I said, please connect. And she said, write to me. I said, no, I want you to be there. And then it took a few hours and she connected, and that is the conversation that was added afterwards. The rest of the film is the same. I didn't change it at all. And I wanted to share it with the rest of the world also, of how joyful and happy she was when she learned about it. And she was supposed to come. She was supposed to come, and that's why also I didn't send the film to her. I did have concerns about her being exposed, but I also have to mention that we did not release her name in the first place. It was only my name and the name of the film. The title, her name was not released in the earlier stages until, a day after she was killed. So afterwards it became a big news. But I don't know to this day, really, sincerely, I do not know. And every day I think with what exactly triggered that decision that somebody ordered this attack on her house in the Israeli army. Again, I think I mentioned it in the intro. Please find the forensic architecture report on her killing and read it. It's online. It's public. It is mind-blowing of how much technology can be put into eradicating a whole family and a young woman just because she was a photographer. But that's the way it is. And we are beyond 300 Palestinian journalists killed to this day. Figures are more or less, but I mean, when you bring it to the population in Palestine, it's huge. It's in absolute value more than the 2 world wars added. The casualties of journalists and proportionate to the Palestinian population, it's enormous. It's because we have to imagine it's only 2 million people, and 300 journalists over 2 million population is huge. So there is no doubt about the fact that it's deliberate. A drone comes and drops 2 missiles on top of that building where they are living. They're living on the 2nd floor. The missiles are programmed not to explode and to cross 3 floors and to explode only on the 2nd floor. And when you watch the images of after the blast, the concrete columns are curved. So you can imagine what it does to the human body. And this is what they did to her. Her youngest brother was 10 years old. There was a pregnant sister, 5 months pregnant there. And the two brothers you saw in the film, her father. The mother is the only one who survived the attack. So I think these facts are important to clear our minds as to the fact that we have to take action to stop this and to seek justice as soon as possible. And the talks that are going on about this so-called ceasefire are really shameful, because, I mean, naming Tony Blair, for God's sake, as the administrator, it's like somebody should teach some history to these people, really.
Are you in touch with her mother?
Yes, I just got a message from her this afternoon.
Has she been able to see the film? I mean,
no. I didn't send it to her because I thought it would be too violent. I sent it to her best friend. She saw it. But we decided that it would be too hard. And I am waiting for her to ask me. Of course, if anytime she asks me, I will send it to her. Plus, she doesn't speak English, so she would need translation into Arabic. But she has been forced to evacuate to south of Gaza. Her best friend, part of her family are gone. The two kids that you see, Hussam and Sahar, they are gone to the south with no insurance of safety, of course, because no place is safe. But Mona is still in the north with her cat and her parents, about to evacuate. I tried to get her out. She wanted to. I didn't manage because the visa is blocked for... they tell you, you have to raise, I don't know, $50,000 to get one person out. It's like, and even then you're not sure to get the visa. The visas are blocked in France, in many European countries for Palestinians. So we have a lot of talks, but very little deeds.
Does anyone in the audience want to ask Sepideh some questions? We have a mic that we can bring to you, if so.
Congratulations. I mean, I don't know if that's the appropriate word, when you watch a movie like this, but obviously a lot of efforts has gone into making it. I've seen your previous movies, and they are always movies that have been planned out in advance, like every other movie, obviously. In this case, must have been very difficult for you to have a vision of what you're doing and what you're going with the film, especially the minimalist aspect of the film, which I think, some people may say the movie lacks production value, but I would say its value is its minimalism. I can compare it to the voice of Hind Rajab, which is also very minimalistic, and the entire movie, but most of the movie takes place in the headquarters of the Red Crescent in Gaza. So in that case, we have to really apply different kinds of aesthetics to these movies. These movies are obviously politically engaged, but I saw another politically engaged movie earlier this afternoon, Two Prosecutors. And while both of them fall into the same genre, they couldn't be more different. So that's how I think there's a set of different aesthetics that we should apply to movies such as this one or The Voice of Hind Rajab as we're watching them. But my question mostly is about your own feelings, how you were reacting as a filmmaker to the process of this movie being made. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and question. I started, I wouldn't call it a career, or my implication with images, making images, was as a teenager when I did street photography. And this was how I entered the realm of images. And in that, and I think I've kept that part to follow my intuitions. So depending on the project and the case and the theme, you do more or less preparations and you have more or less budget, but one thing is key, and that is to follow my intuition as a filmmaker, as a person. I mean, the really the thing that I've never done commissioned films, and it's always something that really becomes obsessional to me. And so in this case, it was the same. It is a very minimalistic film. It was done purposely that way, also because of the urgency of the feeling that was, I couldn't wait to get fundings and to apply and to think of. So what really guided me was my intuition. I had to respond, afterwards, when the main decisions had been made, then I followed that path, which was drawn when I had made the decision to make it with Fatma and centered on her and to use her photography. Then I was carried by the events, meaning, would she be there? What would I do if she would not connect and all that? And on the other, there were different levels, let's say, of reflection and fabrication. The other level was the editing, which I was doing also almost from the beginning. A week later, after the beginning of the shoot, I started editing. So that was my other, basically I kind of divided myself into three, people. One was the one which was there talking to her and was in front of the camera, meaning in my icon. The other one was behind filming. And then as an editor and director, I would intervene on the images later. But still the main, I think, compass for me was really emotions and my intuition to guide me through this, of how to make this film emerge as I don't know if it's, well, it is cinema, for sure it is cinema, but something goes on beyond the image, I think, in this film. Something is conveyed in terms of emotion, and perhaps the decision to make it minimal was the right one, because the techniques is so modest and it's so simple. It's also why I decided to, for instance, put the explosion sounds that she sent me on black with no images, because to me, no image could convey the violence of that sound. No image could equate that. So I thought, okay, let's be very simple, put it there as a sound only. And the black is the only color that, contains anything that the viewer can imagine with that sound. So this was the kind of reflections that I had, thoughts while making the film. And I think it's always that, whether or not. I've made another film with a mobile phone in Tehran, which is called Tehran Without Permission, which was showed in New York a few months ago. I'm born in a country where I constantly have to go around obstacles, and and even here it's the same. I think we have to be inventive and creative and find the right way to express our the main thing we want to say. That's the most important.
Okay, over there.
Have you been able to find distribution for the film? Because other films, like No Other Land, had trouble finding distribution because of the politics.
Well, we were lucky to meet Kino Lorber already from Cannes. So, yes, I have a US distribution on board. And also, again, yes, and I thank them. They're there, and they've been very, very supportive, and from the beginning. And luckily, the film is, I think it's her, it's Fatma, and what she conveys. The film has been released in UK, Netherlands, France, Belgium, Portugal so far. It's going to be released in another 10 countries or more. And the US release is, can I say it? On November 5th. So yes, it's and it has to go, and I'm really happy that it will be shared with a large number of audiences.
Can we do one more question, timing-wise? Yeah. Okay. This lady, maybe. Yeah.
Obviously, the movie is mostly about Fatma, but like Davy mentioned in her intro, there's this very like cogent story about your friendship in the center of it, and I'm curious about how, and like you're very much a character in it too, and I'm curious about how you feel like your friendship changed and evolved over time. Sorry, I'm trying not to cry, and also like what you hope people take away from like your relationship with her and like the friendship story at the center of this.
Well, she very quickly became, was transformed from a person I was interviewing through a friend to younger sister, perhaps, and a family member. I think it was both ways. I was present in her family circle, and she was in mine. Everybody knew her, and there was this thing that when she called, everybody would leave me alone, and it was that moment that I had to be with her, and I think it was reciprocated. And what I would like people to gather, I don't know. I would like you to carry whatever you will remain, but I'm pretty sure that her face and her smile will be with you for a long time. I don't think one can forget that. And her light, I always describe her as a solar person. She really had a lot of light in her, and she wanted her words and her images to travel around the world. This is what's happening. So this is something that suits me a little bit. There's another question there. Yes.
Oh, just wait for the mic, just so.
Hi. I had a few questions, but I don't want to take up time. So I guess I just want to say that you made an amazing film, and I'm very moved by it. Thank you. And I guess what I want to say is, besides the other questions I had, the one thing I'll ask you is, I'm Egyptian, so I'm next door to Gaza, and I've been meeting a lot with the people who have come in, and I wanted to know if her mother or her friend come in, I would love to connect with you and see how we could help them, and with whatever they need, because what I'd like to share is that sometimes the NGOs and stuff, like obviously they help a lot, but they don't provide, most of them don't provide food or shelter. So if you don't mind, if inshallah they are able to leave, I know they have so much pride, they never want to leave, they'd rather stay in the rubble. But yeah, I would love to know. And again, it doesn't feel right to say congratulations, but it's, she's a true angel. And I've seen lots of Palestinian films, and I'm very proud that their voices are being shared, but there's something about Fatma that's, there's no word to describe it, but she's an angel. So yeah, thank you for making this.
Thank you so much for your emotions and words. Her mother doesn't want to leave Gaza. Her best friend has asked me to help her, as I told you. For now, she's still stuck in north. The part of the family has been evacuated to the south. She would want to, yes, leave and actually come to Europe. So if I can get her out, I will get her to Europe. But I think a number around 130,000 or 150,000 Palestinians from Gaza were able to leave in the last months before the siege was total, and then the roads were blocked, meaning around March till early April last year. I also want to mention that each one of them paid about 8,000 to 10,000 just for the right to pass, plus the drivers, plus bribings, etc. And I want to refer to the report that Francesca Albanese has published. Also would like you to go and look for it and read it. Genocide is a very lucrative business. That's also why it's still going on, no matter what they are talking about, the so-called peace, which is not happening, and we're still waiting for it. In the last day, when according to Donald Trump, we've reached almost, we're there. Israeli army killed another 75 Palestinians in strikes. So I don't understand what kind of peace is this. I would really like, the hostages to be liberated, to go back home, the Israeli hostages, and then really see peace. But and what I wanted to say about Egypt is that the majority of the Egyptians are really with Palestinians. I was back there this year for the March to Gaza. I went there in June again. But Al-Sisi and the collaboration with the Israeli government, it's really terrible. So we have this huge gap between the feelings of the populations and what really happens at the authority level, the arrests that we were experiencing, being sent back, beatings, just because we were wanting to march to Rafah to break the blockade. The flotilla is doing the same, trying to do the same. It's not working. It's a real more than heartbreaking. I would say we have to be really angry and shout about this, because the governance, the world governance, is really being cowardish and very opportunistic in making benefits, basically, and just collaborating with the Israeli government. And the populations in many countries, almost all around the world, is feeling something totally different. And we really have to find the way to demand an end to this shit. Sorry.
We'll end there, and maybe in memory.
This is my last word?
Shit. What else is there to say? Mm-hmm. But maybe in memory of Fatma, we'll just say that Palestine will be free and Iran will be free.
She used to say, yes, that her Gaza needs her, yes. And maybe a last word about my birth country, Iran. Yes, my country, basically. Yes, things are very dire there as well. There is a huge crackdown by the regime, and it's gotten worse since the June attacks, the Israeli and American attacks. The regime, of course, has become more severe, and the crackdown. Hence, many killings have been conducted, executions against the political prisoners. Right now, the 3 I'm going to name are not the only 3 ones, but 3 women are under death penalty in Iran. 3 activists, Varishe Moradi, Pakhshan Azizi, and Sharifeh Mohammadi. This last one is the mother of a 12-year-old child, and she was jailed just because she was a union activist. And all 3 of them are sentenced to death. And if you find petitions against the death penalty, there are many of them are going around. Please sign them and support them. And free Palestine and free Iran. Yes, thank you.